All right, we're doing something a little bit different today. Solo episode. And I am going to sell you on this idea. Creating content is the best form of self-discovery. Now, before you roll your eyes, hear me out. You might be thinking, therapy is actually the best form of self-discovery. You're not wrong. Or a long walk, or journaling, or chats with a friend can be an amazing form of self-discovery. And yes, these things are true. I am not here to argue with you on that. But I want to make the case that there is something really profound that can happen to you when you decide to show up on social media authentically on camera, or even in writing out loud publicly, that no amount of journaling or therapy can fully reciprocate. You might agree, you might disagree, but either way, I hope you will stick with me here and listen to this full episode, because a year and a half ago, I probably would have been right with you in the skeptic's seat. So let's go back in the Wayback Machine, as we like to say here. So I have been creating content fully for 8 years. I mean, I've been on social media much longer than that and posting pictures of my kids and my family and inspirational quotes longer than that, but fully creating content and trying to put myself in the content for 8 full years. And for most of those years, I was doing what I thought I was supposed to do. Matching my offer to the content. It was polished. It was on brand, red lipstick. I love my red lipstick. Good lighting, clear call to action, following the rules. And I still do that some of the time. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I'm not going to pretend that I didn't reach for the Paris filter. If you know, you know, then don't do it now. Swipe left, Paris filter. But here's what changed in the beginning of 2025. So I was coming up on 5 years of running Acorn, my business, and I was exhausted in a way that is hard to explain. It wasn't like a physical exhaustion or even like a mental exhaustion. It's this like entrepreneurial exhaustion. So I'd been running this coaching machine for 5 years. At one point, we had a coaching membership with over 200 people in it, which might not sound like a huge number for some fully booked out businesses, but for me, it was bigger than I had really fully intended. I had a team of coaches at one point. I think I had like 8 contractors under me at one point. I created this thing that looked really successful from the outside, but was never fully what I intended to create. It was like this train that was speeding ahead, and I was just trying to keep up with it. And I didn't really want to be on it anymore. It didn't match the version of my life that I desired to have. So I made the very scary and uncomfortable decision to pull back. It was scary and uncomfortable because by all intents and purposes, this is what success looked like. It's what Instagram tells us it looks like. It's what every business coach tells us it's what's supposed to look like. It's what all my peers, and I don't say this with any shade, but it's what they say it looks like. And I am a financial contributor to our family. And so if I pull back, what does this mean? So I moved into one-on-one consulting and coaching, which I do genuinely love. It allowed me to stay in my zone of genius, work with people on building their messaging, pulling out their stories. And I started asking myself a question that I had been avoiding for a long time. What do I actually want? And who am I actually. Not who am I supposed to be? Who does the internet think I am? Not what is scalable, what am I supposed to build? But what do I want and who am I? And what I come back to is what I had always wanted, even before Acorn existed. I'm a creative at heart. I've always been a creative. And I grapple with that term because I'm not an artist, not a drawer, I'm a painter, but I'm a writer, I'm a speaker, I'm a storyteller. I wanted to be someone who got paid to share ideas and connect with people. It's what I always wanted when I was young. I'd spent years building something that had pointed me away from that because I couldn't figure out how to make that version pay the bills. And honestly, I think I was scared to fully step into that version. So, with a little bit more breathing room and a lot less pressure to continue churning out things for a big group of clients and people looking to me to meet their needs, I decided to try something. And I decided to just let my content be the content, not tied to an offer, not tied to a niche. My content was an extension of me. I wasn't building toward a funnel. The content wasn't directing toward something else. It was just me figuring out who I was, creating things that felt true and interesting and unique to me and seeing what happened. And here's where things did get interesting. I started showing up in ways that I had held back from. Physically, I started showing up more natural, we can say. No makeup, hair undone, bags under my eyes, the whole real deal. Still sometimes swiping left for Paris filter, but more just me. It's interesting because, the 25-year-old me wouldn't even go to the grocery store in sweatpants. I have not a lot of trauma in my life from my childhood. I had a very good childhood, but I did have a mom that always wanted my hair bow to match my pants. You put yourself together, that is how I was raised. And so I always felt like I had to be put together. And so I didn't go to the grocery store with sweatpants. And even the 35-year-old me would show up at carpool to pick my kids up from preschool with my big, bold, chunky necklaces. So the idea that I'm showing up on the internet with no makeup, bags under my eyes, my hair kind of a mess is a bit ironic. But I'm 47. I got 0 F's left to give, and I rather like this version of myself. And I've figured out that when I show up in this version of myself, I'm giving other people permission to show up as that version of themselves. And it's not just about physical appearance. In fact, your aesthetic is actually the least important factor in any of this. What matters more is your personality, your opinions, your thoughts, your stories. How all of this makes someone who listens to you actually feel. And that is what really matters. So I started sharing things that I'd been holding back on. I wrote about what it felt like to drop my oldest daughter off at college and come to a house that just felt empty and devoid of the full life and energy that it once had. I did a shopping vlog with my middle daughter, Emmy, and we showed our haul. I would have never done that before because what offer does that tie back to? But it's our personality. Bennett, my little guy, and I did a Thanksgiving turkey hunt and showed us going to different grocery stores. Totally off brand, but is it really? Because that's me. It's what I do. It's fun. It's light. And it shared who I truly am. I did a series where I called Painfully Average Entrepreneur, and I had people say, oh, you're not painfully average, but actually I am. And I think most of us are. And that's okay. It's okay to show that you're painfully average on the internet. We're conditioned to think we have to show up as this dramatic, amazing version with all these highs. And like, no, most days are painfully average. And that's actually really beautiful. And so something started to happen. I started to remember like who I actually was, not Krista, the sales coach, not Krista, the Acorn founder, not Krista, the person that was trying to build this thing, just Krista, the person who loves a good story, who finds the ordinary moments in life deeply interesting, who has opinions about frozen turkeys, who has opinions about things that are much deeper than frozen turkeys, and who wants to share them, and who has people who pushes back on them and who's not afraid to push back on that, and who has people who agrees with her and who's people who doesn't agree with her, and that's okay. I remembered who I really am. And that's the thing about showing up in this way. It's quite literally impossible to people please and be a perfectionist, which I've struggled with my entire life, when you decide to show up on camera with your hair a mess, speaking from your heart. Will people roll their eyes? Will people wonder why you're doing what you're doing? Maybe even talk behind your back? Probably. It's happened to me, still does. I know it does. I don't care anymore. Will you flub your words? Will you make content that looks messy and feels cringy? Yeah, of course you will. That is the whole point. Because by showing up messy, imperfect, and authentically as you start shedding things. You shed the need to fit in a box. You shed the need to seek others' approval. And instead, you just focus on being. And in that process of being, you were unlearning who you thought you were supposed to be. And you were discovering who you actually are, what you believe out loud in front of an audience. And that's really beautiful. So this is what I mean when I say creating content is actually the best form of self-discovery. Not because the content tells you who you are, but because the act of showing up again and again in front of an audience helps you find your real voice, your real opinions, your real face, and it strips away the performance. It makes perfection quite literally impossible to continue with. And what's left is the real you. So how do you do it, right? This all sounds good. Maybe you're buying into this, but like, how do you do it? So I want to give you some steps. First, you're going to define your vision, not your goal. Not so big on goal setting around here, because I really believe goal setting puts you into such a small little box that it becomes really hard to stay. It puts too many blinders on. But vision setting allows for some lane shifting, and that's often necessary. So ask yourself, reality completely aside, where do you see yourself? What's the dream you've been carrying around for so long? You've stopped calling it a dream and you've started maybe calling it a fantasy. It's okay. And here's the question that really helped me. What do you envy when you see it in someone else? Because jealousy is often a signal that it's something you really, really want. I'm going to say that again. When you are jealous of someone else, it's a signal that you really want that for yourself. Jealousy is a signal. So then you want to let your content stand alone. So stop making every single piece of your content try to tie back to a niche or an offer. When you get an idea, just post it. Fast, impulsive action is the way to go. We think ourselves out of content. You don't have likely an idea problem, you have an action problem. So I have a notes app. Notes app is my dumping ground. But for you, maybe it's a piece of notebook paper. Maybe you use your AI and you talk to yourself there. Maybe you just text yourself. I used to do that. My kids made fun of me. Whatever it is for you, have a dumping ground. And when you get an idea, put it there. But then you have to promise yourself you're going to make that content. If you have a moment, make it on the spot. and then promise yourself you're going to post it. 2 pieces of content a week, plenty. If you want to do more, amazing, but don't set the bar so high that you're like never going to be able to keep up with it. You're likely a busy person that has a lot of other things going on. So these people that are going to tell you post every single day, that's just not realistic for most of us. So create 2 pieces of content that are just you, not selling, not teaching, just being a person that's talking to the camera, or maybe you decide you want to write. That's okay too. I'm really a big proponent though of your face, your voice speaking and sharing your ideas. Maybe it's a vlog where you're showing what you do. Maybe it's you just sharing thoughts and ideas, but you're not selling. You're not trying to teach. You're just being you. Then flex your voice muscle and get comfortable being seen. And this kind of ties into 2. More talking to the camera, less B-roll. This is not setting up your camera and showing you behind the scenes and then putting some words over it. Anybody can do that. Now, not everybody does, but you are trying to find your voice. You're trying to understand yourself. This is not for the viewers. I mean, the perk is people will get something out of it, but this is for you. You don't need to worry about trending sounds or hooks. You are finding yourself and finding your voice. You need to be willing, though, to post it. So it's not you're going to record it and leave it on your camera roll, because a big part of this is being seen trying. That's a part of this exposure therapy for you, not being afraid to get your voice out there. It's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to cringe, but in the discomfort, something's going to shift. The perfectionism is going to loosen its grip. And underneath it, you're going to start finding out what you actually believe. Now, 4th, we're going to hold this one loosely. You're going to look at the insights after you post, but you're not going to let them run your life, okay? You're going to pay attention to what resonates, because that's data. And we like data. Data matters. But you're going to give things time. So you're going to look at insights after a month, maybe after 2 months. You're going to try something, though, at least 5 times before you decide whether it works. So my painfully average day in the life of an entrepreneur, I had to try that 5 times before I gave it like, okay, that was working or that wasn't working. The first time, it kind of flopped. And really, my insights didn't show that it ever worked. But what I did see that worked was I was getting DMs. Hey, are you going to post another one of those? I really like watching that. And I realized this is resonating with people. And I'm learning that I'm seeing myself in this. I'm discovering that there's beauty in my everyday moments. And I love this storytelling side of myself. And then 5th, you got to commit to showing up and don't half-ass it. 2 pieces of personal content a week. That's a solid starting point. Not perfectly produced content you actually care about making. Now, if you need a little jumping off point, I actually have a personal brand quiz that you can take that's going to help you decide where's your special sauce, right? So it's going to help you decide, are you a values person? Are you an energy person? Are you an approach person? Are you a story person? I'm going to link the quiz in the show notes. I don't want to get into it too much, but go to the show notes, take that quiz, and then you'll be able to get a jumping off point for all of this. Because sometimes people have more of like I want to talk more about my approach to things. I want to talk about more about my values. I want to share more of my personal energy or my story. So take that quiz and it'll be a good jumping off point for you. So here's what I want you to understand, even more so about why this is so important and this moment that we're living in. We are drowning in AI-generated copy, cookie cutter content, trends, filters. It is all around us. And in the middle of all of that, the human voice, your human voice, your weird, quirky, stumbling, faltering, like, we love it. It's never been more valuable and more rare. Brands know this. Publishers know this. Event organizers know this. They are not looking for the most polished version of you. They can hire an AI bot if they want that. They don't want that. They want real humans, but they can't find you if you're not showing up. They don't know you exist. And they don't know you exist when you post once a month. Nobody knows your story until you tell it. And if you're waiting to feel ready, or if you're waiting until you have more followers, or you're waiting until you figured out your niche, or you're waiting until you're better with your editing, it is not coming. The readiness comes from the doing publicly, out loud. It always has. There is no shortcut. And I want to talk specifically to women over 35, women over 40, because there is not many of us out here doing it like this. The younger subset of women, they figured it out, and I'm so proud of them for doing it. But there's not many of us that have. And brands are craving us. They want to see women at this stage of life. The market is wide open, but they can't see us until we are there. And even more than all of this, the deepest level of all this, if you never show up, you will never unlock who you truly are. And I truly, deeply believe this. You keep building things on paper instead of things that actually feel true. Or maybe you don't build anything at all. You keep asking, what if? I should. I'll get to it. Maybe someday. And 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you'll look back and realize, I let that pass me by. And you'll end your life with a bunch of unfulfilled dreams. And I don't want that for you. And I know you don't want that for you either. So since I changed the way I showed up, things changed quite a bit for me. I grew my Instagram followers by 1,100, not crazy amount, but significant. I got some really cool brand partnerships. KiwiCo, Newly, Function Health, Groons, DoorDash, speaking invitations, not as a sales coach, but as a storyteller, as a person, conversations about writing a book, lots of really cool meetings about future opportunities. We'll see where they go. And none of that came from going viral. Nothing took off, but things kind of did take off, if that makes sense. But here's the part that matters to me. I know I am putting the most authentic version of myself out there. And I know I am connecting with people because people tell me that. People say, thank you for finding the words that I want to find. Thank you for making me feel seen. Thank you for putting yourself out there because it gives me the courage to put myself out there too. And the best part is that my kids are watching me do it. And whether they do it on social media or not, they are seeing me step forward in courage. And their friends are seeing it too. And I've had a lot of conversation with their friends about, I think it's so cool what you do. I think it's so awesome how at your age, which makes me feel like a dinosaur, but at your age, you are still chasing dreams and you're still putting yourself out there and you're still trying new things. I think that's really cool and it's inspiring me. So that's what content creation gave me, not followers, not revenue, although it's given me both of those things, but it's given me me. So that is my sell. Creating content is the best form of self-discovery. Do you buy it? You got to let me know. Don't forget to go to the show notes and take that personal brand quiz. Find out if it's your values, your energy, your approach, your story that is your special sauce. And if this episode hit for you today, I would love for you to share it with someone that you think it might resonate with. Real Beats Perfect, and we will be back with you next week.